Good morning. Thank you all for being here for the meeting of the Michigan State Capitol Commission today. Thank you all. Good crowd. This room gives us a little more space. Apparently nothing else going on in the Capitol today. Ask the Secretary if you please take the attendance.
Chair Candler?
Here.
Vice Chair Bauer?
Here. Please turn on your mic, Joe.
Here, turn your mic on.
Vice Chair Bauer?
Here.
Mr. Bolin?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Oberlin?
Here.
And I skipped Mr. Bowman.
Mr. Bolin, can't hear you today. Is there a motion for an excuse for Commissioner Bolin?
So moved.
Support.
Support. Without objection, Commissioner Bolin is excused today. He's away from, out of town today. We have a quorum, right?
Yes.
We do have a quorum, obviously. So the first item I want to talk about right now among us commissioners is the future meeting dates. We've been working around. A lot of it's my fault. I've been going to be traveling a lot. Things I had planned well before I had any idea I was going to be doing what I'm doing right now, so being cheerier. So we came up with a couple of the best dates we could get, April 3rd and May 15th. And I found we have one problem now with April 3rd, but does anybody else have a problem? Rick?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be absent on April 3rd as well.
Oh, okay. Anybody else? All right, well, let's stay with it for now, and we'll see if we can work around, find another date. I don't want to drop the meeting in case we have some business we have to take care of, but if we don't, have something urgent, we'll try to find a different date, move it to a different time, so if that's okay with everybody. All right, we'll do that. All right, the next item on our agenda is a report on the underground maintenance facility, and Chad Clark is here from Chrisman. Chad, you want to tell us what's going on? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead and sit down, but we do have to approve the minutes first.
First meeting.
Right. Any motions
I
on?
move the approval of the minutes. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the minutes? Any problems, changes? All in favor? All opposed? Minutes are approved for the meeting from January 23rd, 2023. All right, Chad, tell us what's going on.
Good morning. I'll be brief. Have good news to report. Starting with the underground maintenance facility, the concrete walls have been our focus, concrete structural walls. They are 98% complete. The east retaining wall was poured last week, so the only walls we have left to complete, which are non-structural walls, are the two north-south walls that will make up the drive entrance into the garage. The focus has been on the structural walls, as well as the slab on grade. All the radiant tubing went in last week, and we were able, amongst the weather, we were able to get the slab on grade completed last week. That was a nice milestone. That allows us to start the shoring. There's going to be lots of shoring posts to create the deck so that we can pour the structural slab on deck. And you'll start seeing those shoring posts show up this week. And then probably over the next month, it's going to take a while for us to complete all the shoring work, the reinforcing work, and then eventually the pour for the roof deck. That allows us to then complete the interior work. Once we get the shoring removed, we'll complete the rest of the interior work and get all the backfill complete and the landscaping complete. We are on schedule. We are on budget. Plan to be complete late June. Any questions on that project? Otherwise, I'll just hit on two other ones quickly as reminders.
Go ahead. I guess we're okay on that one. Thank you.
Just as a reminder, third floor restroom. Quinn Evans has recently completed that design, and that is into Lara for plan review, so we can obtain a building permit in preparation for a planned June start. And a reminder, the primary reason for that scope is to fix the plumbing issues that are in the third floor men's and probably in the third floor women's as well. Last thing I'll give you an update on is the scaffolding for the interior of the dome is on track for a June start as well. That's all I have.
I have a question unless somebody else does. Rich, you have a question? Commissioner?
Just from my knowledge, how long did you expect that scaffolding project to last with the painting, restoration that's going to take place?
I'm going to turn to Rob because we've been working so closely with Rob's team that's been heavily involved with the interior. We're going to erect the scaffold, and then Rob's team is going to handle the interior work that's going to happen on top of the scaffold.
So we have an early finish of, I would say, April.
Rob, use the microphone, please.
Good morning. For the project for the interior dome, which is the decorative surfaces, we forecast an early finish in April of 2024, and it could be as late as June. A lot of it will be dependent on the initial findings. Once the scaffolding goes up, the first 4 to 6 weeks are going to be the decorative painters and the conservators examining the work closer to make sure everything they saw through photogrammetry and all the other inspections they conducted really that the conditions are as what they see. Once they get up there and get right next to it, they'll be able to tell how much of the allegorical paintings are delaminating from the metal and what the situation is with the tin up in the dome as well. But again, I'll reiterate, April of '24 for an early finish, let's say June at the very latest. So the scaffolding should be in there as much as a year.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, but anybody else have one? Chad, I noticed about 2 weeks ago, we had some nasty weather, kind of wet snow, and then melted. And coming into the entrance to Heritage Hall, the snow all melts really fine off the walkway with their underground heating system and everything. But where you have the drain, it was all a big solid chunk of ice all the way across that drain because, the water has to run somewhere, obviously, and it sits there and it freezes. I'm just concerned that somebody, it was ice probably about 10, 12 foot long, whatever it is, big chunk of ice, maybe 4 inches wide. I don't know if you noticed that or not. I don't even know if there's anything you could do because I'm sure that the cement that holds the grates in is probably not heated. So, but everything's dry except all the way across the entrance. There's a big ice strip.
Into the entrance of?
In Heritage Hall.
Into the entrance of Heritage Hall?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And then another thing I just want to mention. Then today I walked in there where the steps are coming down. There are a lot of spots where they puddle. The water's puddling on the steps. It seems like there should be angled so much so it would drain off the steps. So just something else. I don't want some, we put a lot of work into trying to make it safe, and then there's a couple spots that may just not be quite that safe.
I will have to look into that and get back to you.
Thanks, yeah. Joan, do you have a question?
I do.
Oh,
Is it possible to heat that area?
The entrance to Heritage Hall, where the trench drain is at the base of the stairs, that is all snow melted. So the only thing I can imagine, this is an assumption of mine, is that we were still commissioning the radiant heat, snow melt heat system, and it wasn't functioning properly at the time of that event, because that is all heated.
so is the grate itself and the cement around it? Because it's kind of like cemented in, and that's where it kind of looked like it was puddling up,
Yeah, I'll have to check that to see how close that radiant tubing comes to the actual drain.
Yeah, good, thanks. It was really a big chunk of ice, and, I don't know how, it looks like lately, but that's what we're going to have in winters is ice.
Well, that's the whole intent of that system, is to prevent just
It
that.
took care of the snow really well, but it's just that one spot. I'm not even sure you can get to it the way it is, but it'd be nice if we could look at it at least.
And it was at the base of the steps, right? Not in the drive?
You at the base of the steps, right, just before you go in the door, really, just before you go in.
I will look into that.
Thanks. Any other questions, comments? Thanks, Chad, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else on these projects? Okay. So I want to move now to the item on our calendar of capital security. This is a real important issue. Obviously, everybody is interested in it, probably who's here. This has been kind of like a journey for all of us in the commission. We were just happily taking care of the Capitol building when a couple of years ago we found out of the blue through an Attorney General's opinion that we had the authority to deal with bringing weapons, to ban or limit bringing weapons into the Capitol building. And we didn't know that. It took us a while to understand that. We spent, we spent quite a bit of time, a couple of years, researching and looking at things. We actually did act to ban open carry in the building, but we had some issues that we couldn't deal with that would allow us at that time to ban all weapons. So we've been doing some research and trying to figure out what's the best way to deal with this. And Rob, as executive director, has really gathered quite a bit of info, and he's going to give us a little bit of background as to where we are right now and the kinds of things we've been considering towards the end of banning weapons. Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commission. Good morning. As Bill just mentioned, I was asked by the chair to start evaluating the current security policies, protections of the building, and start to research what it would take to increase our security as it stands today, decrease our risk to intruders with weapons, and look into weapons detection systems that could be installed in the Capitol building. In our research, we started conversations initially with the House and Senate sergeants to get an understanding of what everyone's roles are, as well as Michigan State Police, and this was basically to reiterate what's going on here. Additionally, we had many conversations over the last month with Homeland Security, TSA, and even the Army Corps of Engineers. All these folks have worked on facilities like the Capitol and have installed these systems and almost are subject matter experts when it comes to these topics. Many topics were discussed, but most of the conversations were highlighted by talking about different types of weapons detection systems equipment, the different types of signage posted inside and outside the buildings, different procedures and policies around the United States, what types of items are prohibited, how do they enforce these in each facility, and the camera systems that help record and monitor activities that support these things. First of all, I'd like to talk about some of the practices of other state capitals around us. I'll talk about a few capitals in the Great Lakes region, and I've also added Texas. Screening processes are not a new idea with state capitals throughout the country, and if we are looking to implement a screening process, we found it advantageous to look at other states who have screening processes currently. So I'll start with Ohio. Ohio currently has a full weapons ban and is banned per the Ohio Administrative Code except for police officers. Firearms and other weapons, concealed or otherwise, are prohibited within the Capitol building without the express written permission of the board. They utilize X-ray machines, magnetometers, and an armed security from the Ohio State Cap Patrol. Indiana, they have a weapons ban under state law, exceptions for state legislators and judges. They have 2 entrances that are open to the public and 2 entrances with access cards for entrance only for legislators and their staffs. The sources we spoke to at the Indiana Capitol said the biggest problem they have are piggybackers on the card access points. So in this building, it'd be the north and the south, where the House and the Senate are. It'd be a piggybacking situation that they really evaluate, or it becomes a problem for them to manage.
Rob, can you explain what piggybacking is?
Yeah, piggybacking is when one person has access to it and they go, hold the door, I want to come in with you. And they let on 3 or 4 more people. And sometimes they have access, sometimes they don't. It depends on who's talking to whom that day. So that's something that needs to be evaluated as we move forward. Indiana also utilizes X-ray machines, magnetometers, and armed security from the Indiana State Police. It's part of their Capitol Police. They also have signs posted conspicuously near the entrances with the firearms, weapons, and rules displayed prior to entry. Illinois, firearms are banned from the Capitol per the Illinois Administrative Code. We are advised that generally it is enforced by police through the trespassing statute. They have 3 entrances with X-ray machines, magnetometers, armed security via Secretary of State Capitol Police. The Secretary of State oversees the Capitol security in Illinois. Employees and legislators can bypass screening with their ID, but this is something that's a gray area for them and it's hard for them to manage as well, and they see it as problematic. Texas, designed similar to Michigan State Capitol, which is why I brought it up for one reason. In fact, Elijah Myers was their implementing architect who also designed the Michigan one. They have a governing body similar to our Capitol Commission who oversees the Texas Capitol. They have 4 entrances with X-ray machines, magnetometers, and security via Texas Department of Public Safety, which is Texas's equivalent of the Michigan State Police. So they check every single entrance. Troopers check concealed pistol license holders in the computer system for validity, and anyone carrying under a constitutional carry, which I really won't get into all their laws. It is pretty lengthy. I just wanted to highlight that Texas does have full security at every single entrance, X-ray machines, magnetometers, and police force there as well. The next thing we did, we started talking about different pieces of equipment. And we really nailed it down to 3 or 4 different types of equipment that are out there that would be worthy of looking forward into. One of them is magnetometers, one of them are X-ray machines, pass-through weapons detection systems, which are newer technology, and secondary screening points. And just to highlight each one of those to make it, just to define it a little clearer, magnetometers, as you would expect, you see these at the airports, courthouses, et cetera, and they're basically detecting metal objects such as guns, knives, keys, phones, et cetera. The pass-through weapons detection systems can detect objects that are not just metal. These systems can also detect objects that look like IEDs, 3D printed weapons, in addition to all types of knives and guns. X-ray machines are used to scan backpacks, larger bags, briefcases, etc. These machines basically detect metal objects. They're labor intensive and they can scan, but it takes a long time to put objects through there as people are waiting to get into the building. And then the other thing for equipment, we would have a secondary screening area, and this would be if someone goes through any weapons detection system and it yields that there is something in their bag, we would want to take them to a private room for screening. So it's something that we need to think about moving forward. Where will we have our secondary screening points? As we move on there, we had more discussions about signage, and everyone we talked to say it's very important to note that whatever system we install, we should post signs at every single entrance notifying people who are entering the building what our policies are and what will be enforced. Additionally, announce via signage that they will be required to walk through a weapons detection system prior to entering the building. And as you can see, there are multiple pieces of equipment and different strategies out there that can be installed and enforced, and those are things that we'll continue to research as we move forward. There is one thing I'd like to mention. There are some things we can put in for immediate action that can take place prior to drafting policies and installed weapon detection systems as we reviewed our current security policies here. We can start using the Capitol building hours, which are currently 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, as the only entrance time available for the public. Exceptions are definitely there with legislative session is in and committees, being the public gathering statutes that we'll have to keep the building open. We could recommend that the legislators and staff that work in the building be allowed to access the building after hours, but only through the ground floor east entrance. Michigan State Police Office is there. They monitor that area 24/7. All other doors to the Capitol will be on lockdown after 5 o'clock. That would also disable any swipe cards. With signage and pushing everyone to the east, we think that will increase our level of security, reduce our risk to invitation for things to happen, but it's something we can start working on now at the pleasure of the commission if we also would like to do that. The other thing is we will review our current camera systems to make sure we have cameras at all entrance points and exit points to help monitor traffic in the entire building. We currently have all the entrance points covered, but there's still some emergency exits that could be wedged open. We could add cameras to certain areas to help with the monitoring situation, which will stop people from trying to pry into doors where they don't think there is a camera. Lastly, I'd like to recommend to introduce some formal training, more emergency training for our central control operators. The calls they've been getting over the last few months have increased, and they do a really nice job, but I do think some emergency training would be very helpful for them as we move forward, and the calls that come in are a little more stressful to make sure they have the proper training and don't say the wrong thing moving forward. That's kind of a evaluation of my initial research with those immediate recommendations. And I will turn it over to the commissions for any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Rob in his presentation? Tim?
Rob, on
Turn your
training for your,
microphone.
training for your staff, would you envision that to be more like 911 training? And the reason I ask that is I've worked with your staff and they're great, but I think having some specific training relative to 911 and emergencies would be incredibly helpful, and that is something we could do immediately.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Any other questions? All right, anybody have anything else? Jim, you want to have a comment? Make?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion if I may.
Yes, please do.
While we all have a story to tell about gun violence, today is about this body not just talking, but rather taking action within its authority. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I would move that the Commission's Executive Director be instructed to prepare a recommended plan of action, including the necessary policies and technology to implement a total ban of firearms in the Capitol and on its grounds. That, upon the approval of the Commission, those policies and technology can be implemented as soon as the legislature appropriates the required funds.
Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. Any comments, any questions? Let me just make one comment. Oh, go ahead.
I was on the commission a couple of years ago when we banned open carry weapons. And though that was a very important step at the time, and then we knew that we would be looking further so that we can protect the people, the public who visit this building, legislator staff. So I really commend, really support this motion wholeheartedly.
Any other comments? To the other commissioners and to the public, we've looked at a lot of different items, ideas, proposals, technologies, as Rob has pointed out to you. And what we tried to do initially was to say, let's put together kind of a decision tree, because obviously, depending on what decisions you make along the way, you heard Rob, raise a lot of the issues. Who is covered? Who can get in by swipe? Who can get in without swipe? How many access points do you have, et cetera, et cetera. All those decisions, as you make a decision at one level, you get options to go to the next step. And we thought about trying to put together a decision tree that the commission could work through, but it was just too complicated. So what we're proposing here is to have the executive director go through it all, knowing what our policy is from what Commissioner Boland's amendment or motion was, to kind of put together a proposed RFP. Just pull it all together, and then we can kind of amend it, edit it, look at it if we need to make any changes. But at least then we'll have a concrete proposal so we can get it implemented. So that's kind of what we're looking toward.
And obviously, because we have a room full of people, just to clarify, Mr. Chair, that though we would like to do it, this isn't an immediate ban on all weapons, because we can't do, am I correct? Just so we're very clear. But that as soon as we can get a plan in place, then we will take that recommendation and move forward.
It sets our policy direction. Basically, lets everybody know this is what we're going to do. I mean, the problem is you can't snap your fingers and make it happen. All these things have to be put into place. You have to find out which technology works the best. You got to get it implemented. We have to have the funds in order to buy whatever we decide to get. We have to have funds, more funds for the state police, for more personnel. And again, that's another decision depending on what kind of a system we set up, what kind of a flow plan we want to have, how many personnel we'll need. It'll be quite a few probably. When you think about it, if you have one entry point, you probably have to have at least 3 people to staff it, because you have different shifts, and sometimes the legislature works later, so it gets complicated. It's going to take quite a few people if you want to have somebody there eyeballing the ingress and egress at the door. So it's going to take a bit. So yes, that's exactly what we're doing. And so the other things we talked about are things we could do in the meantime. Rob mentioned, we're going to get to that too pretty soon, but there are some things we can do in the meantime. All right, I'd like to take the roll on motion now, if there are no other comments or questions. Madam Secretary?
Chair Candler?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bauer?
Yes?
Mr. Boland?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Oberlin?
Yes.
5 yeses.
Thank you, everybody. Commissioner Bauer, I think you have a motion to make also.
Yes, I have a long motion, and I think everybody has it in front of them up here. I move that the executive director shall disable all swipe access to the building except for the ground floor east entrance after hours. This will direct all traffic for ingress to the ground floor east entrance, as this entrance is watched by MSP 24/7. Additionally, this would direct staff to schedule events and gatherings in the Capitol Heritage Hall only during business hours from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. The commission also recommends that the House and Senate post sergeants at their respective north and south entrances during hours when the swipe access points are activated.
Is there a second? Second. Motion moved and seconded. Any comments, questions? I have a couple comments, so I'll make them if I may. Of course. This is, again, is under the heading of things we can do in the meantime. We're going to have it's going to be probably, when we get the whole system implemented, it's going to be uncomfortable, inconvenient, different for all of us, because we are accustomed to coming and going, but that's just the world we live in right now. And so not only are we, but with Commissioner Bauer's motion will give us a little bit more security now, because we're going to be steering more people after hours, past state police. Hopefully just having more presence of sergeants in north and south door access points, hopefully, if they can do it. I don't know their budget. Hopefully they can be there. It'll present more of a presence of security. Also, it's going to get all of us accustomed to starting to figure out that we have to enter through certain doors because of security. Now, again, it's so different than we've done all of our lives. I've done for 45 years working around here. It's going to be hard. But anyway, it's essential we have to do that. So it's a beginning of moving into the kind of a secure building that we eventually will have here. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Boland?
I'll just make one. When we were going through the original restoration and restoration after that, there were doors on the first floor that were open. There were a number of doors that were open in different areas, and it took a little while for us to get used to limiting that access. This will be another, in my mind, a series of appropriate steps to get us in that direction. So I'm completely in support of this, and I think it's something that the senators, hopefully the House members as well, but speaking on behalf of the Senate, that we will make sure that our people are informed of these changes so that they can have time to plan, be it committee meetings or session or what have you. But this will be something that I think that they will welcome because they're going to understand it's for their own security. So,
Commissioner Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just out of what information, has there been, we're talking about posting additional sergeants at both north and south. Has there been a discussion with the various people that are involved, whether they have staffing that's available to do that?
I don't know the answer to whether or not they have staffing, but we've not really discussed it specifically. That's why he says we just recommend it.
Okay.
And we can't make them do it. We think it's a good idea, but you're right. We can't. We don't have. We're not their supervisors. So.
Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. You want to please call the roll?
Chair Candler?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bauer?
Yes.
Mr. Boland?
yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Oberlin?
Yes.
5 yes votes.
Motion passes. All right. Any other business? Anybody else have anything they want to bring to the commission? Anybody in the commissioners? Any other good ideas? None? Public comment. Any comments from the public? Boy, that's easy. Yeah, I would entertain a motion to adjourn then if nobody else has anything to bring to us. Moved? Yeah. Moved and seconded. The commission do now adjourn. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.